So chapter 10 is all about language and cognition. The first thing we'll talk about is the components of human language. The first thing is that language allows us to communicate, and there are about 7,000 languages, and over 1,000 of them have been studied by linguists. Linguists are scientists who study language. The first part of language is the phonemes. Phonemes are the basic speech sounds that make up languages. The next part is morphemes. Morphemes are the basic units of meaning in a language. They are composed of phonemes. So phonemes make up morphemes. Semantics is the study of the meaning of words. Syntax is the rules for constructing phrases and sentences in a language. And this is actually how you assemble the sentences. So you might think that rules for constructing sentences and as phrases as grammar, but grammar typically refers to the set of rules about how you ought to structure your sentences. So syntax is concerned with how natives actually speak. Generative is the term used to describe the capacity of a language to produce an infinite number of sentences. So in each sentence, there's a surface structure and a deep structure. So the surface structure is the particular string of words that are put together in a sentence, and the deep structure is the particular meaning beneath the surface. So this would kind of be like if a child was talking and said something like, let's see here. So if they say me want that, that's the surface structure. But a parent would actually know the deep structure saying that the child wants something. The next thing we'll talk about is how animals communicate. Animals' communication reveals the evolutionary roots of language. So a lot of scientists ask the question if animals use language. There's no easy answer to this question, but speech and language originally developed from the gestures of the hands and face. So non-human animals vocalize as well as gesture, and one common thing is birdsong, which is an intriguing analogy to human language. A lot of genetic studies support the idea that brain systems controlling language evolved from communication systems like those found in other languages. Also, a gene FOXP2 is a mutation, and this means that children will take a long time to learn speech. The next thing we'll talk about is animals acquiring language without training. People have tried to communicate with animals. There's many different strategies for this. One strategy for teaching language to an animal is to choose a species as much like ourselves as possible. So our nearest primate relatives are chimps, and they are capable of learning many of the hand gestures of ASL. Another strategy for teaching language to animals is to choose a species that may not be closely related to us, but is adapted for flexible oral communication like a parrot. We start life ready to decode any language we happen to hear. So language is learned without any formal instruction, but the baby has to hear it to learn it. Babies often use babble, which is the meaningless sound strung together to resemble speech, made by infants typically before the age of 6 months. The next thing is telegraphic speech, which is the communication form in young children in which a few words are used to express an idea. Next thing is that psychologists use behavior to test babies' language ability. So one of the first things babies must learn how to do is to tell the difference between phonemes. So when they hear them, they have to tell them apart. Habituate is to stop attending to a stimulus because it is no longer novel. Adult monkeys can also discriminate between phonemes, and babies developing language abilities are especially shaped by motores, which is the sing-song high-pitched speech with low exaggerated pronunciation that parents use with babies, and this is often found good and helpful.